Sam Hooper, longtime player, longtime friend of mine, will be introduced tonight by his longtime friend Dwight Giles. Dwight and Sam first became friends playing tennis together in Birmingham at Highland Park. Dwight was put into the Hall of Fame in the year 2000, excuse me. So at this time, please welcome Dwight Giles to introduce Sam Hooper.
Good evening. I was reminded of a story Elaine was telling about logging all these people in at the tournaments and everything. And my son Charlie and I were waiting to get a court assignment one day, and these two young lads walked up and they're reporting their scores, right? So, you know, normally speaking, the guy that wins has got the balls in his hand, right? So these two guys walk up to the tournament desk, and one's got the balls in his hand, and the other one says, reports the scores. And so Elaine says, well, which one of you won? And John says, I won. Jim says, I won. I'm real sure how y'all reconcile that. But that's what people, you know, like Elaine and people of those kind of responsibilities do. And I'm reasonably sure that John Callan had something to do with the lighting in here tonight, because he's tried to screw me up most of his life. I had no idea we were going to do this in the semi-darkness. I would have put my font 44 instead of 22, okay? But he's been trying to do that most of his friggin' life. Good evening. I have the wonderful privilege of introducing my friend and yours, Mr. Samuel O. Hooper. Right? Whatever y'all put on the other. Thank you. I knew you'd be introduced now. Before I do that, I'd like to introduce you to Miss Providence Hooper, Sam's lovely wife. Robbie, would you please stand up? Now, one of the reasons that Sam's a really, really good tennis player is because that Sam leaves in the morning, probably locks the door, and will not let him come back until dark. Before I start my introduction to Sam, I'd like to tell you a small story about Sam. And this is a guy who lives over in Georgia, or at least he did live over there. His name's Kenny Rogers. You know him. He's the know when you fold him, know when you do it, whatever, you know. And he's had a successful career as a movie star and a singer, and pretty well-known guy, right? Kenny has had a mystery most of his life, though. People come up to him and they say, you know, you look just like Sam Hooper. One of these days, Kenny's going to get to meet Sam, and he'll understand why. You get that a lot, right? The mystery will be solved for him. I know that a lot of you know this, but I want to share it anyway. Sam won't ever tell you about it. Sam has a long history of service before his tennis days. Sam served in the United States Marine Corps in the Vietnam War. Hoorah. He was an NCO and was a decorated veteran. He was severely wounded in that theater of war. He still bears scars on his body today as evidence to his valiant service to his country and to us. We owe him and all of those that did that. We're here to talk about tennis and good times and not serious stuff like that. I met Sam and his adopted brother, the late Jim Price, one hot spring morning in the 1970s. I was a mere child, of course, at Highland Racket Club. This was after the tennis boom brought on by the Riggs King match. The courts were difficult to come by during that time. I was playing singles with this Margaret Livingston. Margaret was training to go to the Southern tournament that year, and she won both the 35 singles and the 45 singles that year. We all know Margaret and how good she really was. Well, Sam and Jim had the court after we did, and they asked, do we want to play doubles? I looked at Margaret, she looked at me, and she said yes. So, we proceeded to play doubles, right? I think Sam and Jim learned a valuable lesson that morning. We all know the rule in doubles: you play to the weaker partner if you want to win. Well, Sam and Jim spent about a set and a half hitting all the balls to Margaret. The lesson they learned that morning was, you need to figure out the weaker of the two partners. That was me. Sam and Jim became regulars at Highland, and both of them became great friends with me and with my family. Charlie, my son, who was really small when first met Sam, once introduced Sam, Jim, and another friend of ours, Pete Hires, who was a former linebacker for Duke University, to one of his little friends. And the little guy said, boy, you sure do have big friends. Sam worked very hard on his tennis game and soon became a very accomplished player. Sam and I began playing doubles together sometime after this, and we had a lot of fun going to tournaments and winning every once in a while anyway. Sam at that time had a fairly unusual trait. He would serve the ball with his right hand, shift the racket over to his left hand, and then play out the point left-handed. And I've often heard opponents say, is the guy right-handed or left-handed? Trying to figure out, of course, where to hit the ball, right? Sam and I played doubles together for several years. And for some reason or another, he threw me over for an obscure player by the name of Hugh Thompson. I don't know what he saw in this guy. Well, we all know about that, right? Anyway, Sam started playing with Hugh and also Larry Morgan and some others, and became an excellent doubles player, winning many, many tournaments. Sam has been ranked number 1 in his age bracket in doubles, starting in the 35s, all the way through almost all of the age brackets to age 70. Of course, he won't own up to that except at a tournament time, right? He has won Southern Senior Championships, Alabama State Championships, and many local tournaments, and has represented the state of Alabama on the 65 and over Senior Cup team for the last several years. Sam has served the tennis community well with his efforts as chairman of the Birmingham Tennis Classic, as well as serving in many other capacities of local tournaments to ensure their success. He has tirelessly served as a chair umpire, linesman in many tournaments. But you know Sam, you will know that he has a habit of helping others and serving the needs of others. I myself have experienced this help a great deal in these past difficult months for myself. Sam is richly deserving of the honor and privilege of being inducted into the Alabama Tennis Hall of Fame. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sam Hooper as a new member of the Alabama Tennis Hall of Fame.
Thank you. I asked Dwight not to drink before he introduced me, but he didn't pay any attention. I'd like to thank my beautiful wife, probably 48 years, my family, and of course my friends who come in here tonight. Tennis is more than a game to me. It's special. I'll tell you a little story about my life, and I've never told anybody before, not even my family, except for probably knows about this. In 1965, I was a 20-year-old Marine Corps sergeant, and I was sent to Vietnam as a squad leader. In 1966, I was wounded, and I was sent back home and discharged. I came back to Birmingham. And like every soldier, I wouldn't do anything special, but every soldier who comes back after spending time in the combat zone suffers from PTSD. The problem was in 1966, I didn't know I had it. And nobody would tell you. They never addressed it. I didn't hear those words PTSD until 1996, 30 years after I came back. When I was diagnosed with it at Veterans Hospital. But when I got home, I joined the service because I wanted to get out and go to school in the GI Bill. But all I did was just sit around the house, and I was just really, really depressed. Full of anger and hate, and I didn't want to leave the house. And a friend of mine, Jim Price, came by one day. He came out to get me out of the house because he knew I needed to get out and do something. So we drove down to the park, and he got out of the trunk and got out 2 tennis rackets and 1 tennis ball. And for a while, we went to buy a can of balls. We didn't know they came in 3. We just thought they came in 1. So we got out there. We didn't know how to play, but we could hit the ball as hard as we could. If we didn't knock it over the back fence, we felt like we was doing good. But from that first day, out there running and getting out of the house and hitting that ball, I just felt something special about tennis. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I liked it, and I wanted to do more of it. So it was really hard to get out of the house, but to go play tennis, I didn't mind getting out of the house and go down for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours and play tennis. So we did that every day. And after a while, I could just sort of feel my life changing. I feel like I wanted to get out of the house. I didn't want to stay in there and be a hermit the rest of my life. So I did. I started getting out, started playing more tennis. I met my wife, Probby. I enrolled at UAB and started going to school. And I had a friend of mine that asked me to go to work for him, and I did. So I was going to school, playing tennis, working hard. After a few years, he retired, and I was fortunate enough to be able to take over the business. So life was good. At one time, my life was spiraling out of control downhill. I didn't know why, and I didn't know how to stop it. And I later realized that tennis was that rope that I grabbed onto to keep me from going any further down than what I already was. But, thanks to tennis in my life, I've had a good marriage, wonderful marriage. I've had a great life, and most of all, I've had some wonderful friends. The best friends a man could ever have. And I just want to thank my friends for playing tennis with me. But most of all, I want to thank you for being my friends. And God bless you, and I love you. Thank you.
Sam is old school. I've been on the court with Sam a lot, and he is a gentleman on the court and off the court, as you know. And congratulations to you, Sam. If Sam was at a tournament, Elaine would not have to coach him. To Elaine and Sam, to include you into this group is an honor for us. You give this group of people, we are honored to have you, and you honor us by accepting. So thank you both very much. To those of you who came...
I've got the Elaine syndrome. I forgot to say something. have to forgive me, I was a little nervous to get up here, but I want to tell you that I'm honored and humbled to be part of this group here tonight, so thank you.